This is the Atlas Emotion series, where we share edge of the earth ideas for a new world. Hello, and welcome to another Atlas Emotion series podcast. My name is Ella. I'm here today to share with you a fascinating topic. Today's podcast will be called Control and Freedom and Energy. Now, I actually feel like this idea of control and freedom is ongoing. As we continue to grow, we feel constricted in places and free in places, and the idea is to continually find that embodiment of freedom inside of ourselves. So that's what I'm going to be talking about today, that we are all on a journey into embodying our own sense of freedom. And we are all on a journey to not just have an idea or a signal of what freedom might feel like in our minds, but to really inhabit that in our bodies. And I'm here to talk about the idea that control and freedom is just an energy that is within you, and it's an energy that works in relationship to itself. So I mean that control and freedom is just about the energy that moves inside of you and the way that it interacts with itself. For example, the two major energies in my life have been what I feel like my sort of home frequency is, which is harmony, and the contrast of that, which is violence. These are the two polarities that exist at times within my body. And so violence is when I feel like there are parts of my life that are not congruent with harmony. I often feel almost like an internal violence, that internal pain of the disconnect with my own sense of harmony. But the way out of the experiences internally and externally of violence or a lack of harmony, the way out has been my perception of the situation and my perception of the energy inside of me, and to move using new perceptions into new places. So we are going to be talking all about that today. So where do we start with such a big topic? The idea of freedom and the idea of control is pretty much, or both of them are pretty much very big themes on our planet. If we look at the way that we all interact with each other, we can see that there is clearly a difficulty and a struggle with feeling either controlled or feeling the desire to be free. So where do we start? We start with energy, with understanding our own energy. The very first thing is to know that it is all just energy moving within you, and it is relating to itself. So it's all about the way that the energy moves inside your body to start with. So the places that you feel controlled in your life versus the places where you feel free, it all starts with that energy that is inside of ourselves. And so that's what we're going to be diving into today, starting from that place. So feeling that we have freedom is not about other people. It is about getting truly this intimate with ourselves. Having control within our body, or having a sense of freedom within our body, is about us truly understanding our inner world. The very, very first thing, it starts with perception. Perception is the only true opposing force. So this remarkable statement came to me in meditation. Perception is the only true opposing force. So we have been raised in a very binary world where we see things as good or bad. But what if the only true thing that opposed another thing was the way that one person perceives a thing versus the way another person perceives a thing? the way one person perceives a situation versus the way another person perceives a situation. The way that you perceive something within yourself, perhaps a situation or an experience, versus an opposing perception. So it is the way that we perceive things that conducts how we are either feeling controlled or how we feel free. It is all about our perspective and our perception. So what I've discovered over the years of my experience of transforming this world within me, which often at times truly did feel violent. I felt that pain, or I do, have at points felt that pain when, something outside of me feels really incongruent or lacking in harmony, or can feel like an attack in some way. I discovered that violence can often occur when we feel like freedom is outside of us, when we're needing to change other things or to change the outside world to feel free inside, as opposed to first looking inside and transforming that inside world. So having a look, where are you still seeing freedom as outside of you? If this person changes or that thing changes, then I can feel free within my body. Well, obviously it is the reverse. I had to find the places in my life where I was still waiting for salvation. I was waiting to feel in control. I came to realize that freedom is actually a totally different attitude. Freedom says, I am already in control. Just this morning, I had the inspiration to write down all the places in my life where I still feel like I'm controlled by the outside world. So just to list some of those. This morning I woke up and I wrote that I feel controlled by money. I feel controlled by, I have a cockatoo, and at times she's so loud that I can feel like I'm being controlled by her. There are perhaps some situations in my life, some interactions where I can feel controlled. I can feel that certain people want me to act a certain way. I feel controlled at times by societal expectations of how I should behave or what I should be doing with my life. And underneath that, I had the feeling to write that actually there is an inherent freedom inside of each of these points of feeling controlled. Basically, control goes chasing after something, whereas freedom rests right where you are. I've had little insights come to me in relationship to my cockatoo and her behavior, that I felt like she was taking me away from my ability to work. But actually, what I heard was that she is my work, transforming that energy, of which obviously I've attracted in some way, or at least is present in my life, this screaming behavior. That is my work. How am I going to change my relationship to that? How am I going to see that I can be free inside of myself? And that's the first port of call for her to transform her own behavior. The ability for me to find that freedom inside myself, and that may mean that I take myself out of the situation and meditate and then return to it, is the way the situation can truly grow. And what I can ultimately and truly offer another is that stability and that connection to that sense of freedom inside my body. That stability is ultimately what can support someone else in finding that freedom inside of themselves. Very recently, I've actually gone through a breakup, and I have had to find for so very many months, I did that very traditional thing of believing that I could only have happiness if he felt the same way about me. But I actually had to obviously find that in myself I came to an understanding. So I had to truly understand the situation at a deeper level, and that took me actually 7 months after the breakup. So I had a healing session with a lady that really enlightened me to something new. If I had stayed in the relationship, I wouldn't be able to keep growing or expanding in, and basically to keep growing into, I guess, a deeper sense of freedom and harmony in myself. There was something that really sat inside of me that I realized that made me find that freedom, that perspective shift from I'm not happy unless I'm with him, my happiness is deprived in some way, to actually this is the greatest benefit for the both of us. For us to move beyond this relationship I finally found that in myself, that I am freer in moving beyond it. And so it was the best and greatest benefit to both of us. And it was that perception shift that has allowed me to find that freedom, that sense of freedom in myself, that is really helping me and has helped me to just feel amazing about this change in my life, and that the two of us are growing into different people. And actually, that's a really beautiful thing. And that's really exciting. So basically, it's the chasing of him, the chasing of freedom as he would give it to me. That's the belief that I had to unlearn, that the freedom is inside of me. And I mean, even in that state, I had a lot of anger and I had a lot of frustration. I was trying to control through anger because I didn't believe that I had the freedom to be happy. But all I really needed to do was actually to understand the situation deeper and to know that higher self was supporting me to find more freedom. And the way that I could line up with that perspective was just to ask, how is this allowing me to be freer in myself? Finding freedom. That's where we're at. Finding freedom is all about changing the energy inside of yourself. And what do I mean by this? I mean, it's all about changing that energy within you, having that realization, having that shift in perception, choosing to let go, setting that intention to let go. I set an intention to let go of this past relationship just recently. And I found myself, I fell asleep, I had a nap. And basically when I woke up, I felt this real gentleness of this tree, from this tree that's outside my window, this real gentleness. And I was drawn to a video that one of my good friends, who's a healer and a teacher, created many, many years ago in 2013. And he talked about a relationship that, they had broken up, and how that was actually a very beautiful thing. It was exactly what I needed to hear at that time. But the cool thing about this and about finding that video with him is he's about to get married to the love of his life, obviously, that many years later. It's 2019. And it gave me great hope because I felt myself kin to him, in 2013, where he had that first breakup, and he saw how it's actually a really beautiful thing. And ultimately, I know now that, it did lead to someone that was more fitting for him. And I guess I really saw myself in that. So the first thing that I did was I set that intention to let go. And so the universe has started to help me by supporting me with information and people that can help me to grow into the next stage. If we all turn directly toward the light, what does it look like? What it looks like is freedom. So this is what I was talking about earlier, in that in each of these places in our life, so I said, I feel controlled by money. I feel controlled by my cockatoo at times. I feel controlled by societal expectations. If we reverse that, there is a freedom that is available in it. And that is because it is possible for us to feel free within these situations. It is not these situations that are making us feel the way we do, but these situations are illuminating the parts of ourselves that don't feel free. And this is where we start to take action. This is our work. You can find gratitude for the parts of the situation where you do feel in control. Perhaps you can leave the house. Perhaps you can go and meditate. This is the first place to moving into a sense of freedom in these places where you do feel trapped. You can be present with the energy, because changing the energy is all that really matters. If you change the energy, you change the frequency, and so therefore you're actually moving yourself out of a situation step by step by step where you feel controlled into a version of that same situation where you feel free. And so this is where you are truly powerful. It's in your ability to remember that every single situation is just an opportunity for connection, an opportunity to connect deeper to yourself. If you're feeling controlled in some way, this is an opportunity for you to connect to your sense of focus, which is where your true control lies, and your ability to change your energetic state. And that is where you always have the freedom. As Bashar would say, you smile first, and then the mirror follows you. So I want to just go a little bit deeper into this, where the true power lies. So I had to learn in my relationship, in relationship to my relationship, that I thought that the power was in reaching out to my past partner. But the power is really in being able to hold myself, to be with that energy that is saying that I cannot feel love unless I have him. And to allow that to move and transform, to look at it and to see, why do I feel trapped right now? And to set an intention to let that go and to see, what is the real freedom in this? And the real freedom is that breakup is allowing me to be more of myself. And that's a really beautiful thing. And I was feeling trapped because I wasn't giving myself the space to see that. So I've come to learn of how valuable focus is. This is where we are all completely and incredibly powerful, to use that word. It's in our ability to focus. This is the power that I have, the power that is inside of me to focus on what is ultimately unfolding, a deeper and a greater freedom. By shifting our attention from I feel controlled to this is helping me to become more free, then the universe must show us how this situation, which is very challenging, is actually helping us to become more free. So never underestimate the power of focus. It's a form of time travel. Basically, if you can't find freedom, you can find focus, because in focusing on something is your freedom. And what I'm specifically talking about here is intention setting. I feel like now constantly every day as I'm catching myself and my mind talking about ways that I feel controlled, I do my best to say to myself, well, this must be helping me to become more free. I allow the universe to show me how I am becoming more free through this situation. So instead of actually, what I've watched myself feel like I needed to control my cockatoo and her screaming so much. And what is so much more effective is focusing on how this is supporting me to become more free, and asking for the tools and the practicalities and the next step that I can take whether that means go and meditate, or just to be still for a bit, choosing that. And then surrendering and watching how that does transform things. It does allow the space for things to become naturally more peaceful. So he got me thinking, is there a place where control-based energy just turns into power as opposed to attack? So instead of feeling attacked or that rage, can we catch ourselves and in fact transform that energy into freedom? In all those places where we feel trapped, we're just waiting for ourselves to catch ourselves and to choose to focus on how it is helping us to become more free. So have a look at the places in your life. Where are you waiting to feel free? What if you said to yourself that these places in my life, financially, in relationships, are all helping you to become more free, and to constantly focus and to ask the universe, how is this helping me to become more free? Write down the answer. It might be quite a miracle to see how it's supporting you. I'll give you one example. So I have these different areas of my life where I've felt really stuck. And after this amazing nap where I had this very gentle feeling from that tree outside of me, one of the things that I felt was that I really do understand that I'm here to support our world in rising out of real limitation. So I myself have come from violence, and I would say that's violence of ideas that I didn't agree with, and experiences. And I know I'm here to bring harmony to this world. And I find myself getting stuck when I'm not experiencing that harmony. But in feeling that gentleness again, I remembered that connection, which is the next topic I'm going to talk about. I remembered that connection to what I'm truly here to do. Instead of looking at all the ways in which I feel lost, in which things aren't working out for me, and my mind goes all over the place. I think I'm a hypocrite at times. I feel, I feel like I just, who am I to share these ideas when I don't have my shit together? That's what it can feel like a lot of the time. And in this moment, I actually remembered connection. I remembered that the point is that I'm here to teach myself first how to move out of these energies. It's not that I'm wrong for having these situations in my life or for having these challenges, but that I'm so much on the right path because I'm choosing to see how can I transform these situations? How can I remember that I'm inherently connected to this situation and I inherently have the ability to change it, and it starts from inside of me. And that's actually what's the difference between you guys listening now and others. It's that you remember that you have the ability to transform and change that inside of you. So going gentle on yourself leads to your remembrance of why you're here and that connection, and that each of these situations that are around of you that potentially feel out of control are all here to guide you back into feeling connected, to remember that you have the ability to transform that energy inside of you. You have that ultimate ability to transform the situation. Off the back of all these challenges, I've remembered and felt re-inspired to create a book series, which I'll be writing over the next 6 months. And it's going to be guiding people out of these limited, very, very limited and violent sometimes levels of consciousness into spaces where we truly embody freedom and we truly experience that harmony and freedom. Now, my reconnection with myself after a very challenging morning where I felt like I had no control in relationship to my cockatoo, sometimes in relationship to my money. Well, I mean, I wouldn't be able to write this book series unless I walked through it myself. So I reconnected to, oh my goodness, well, what if this was all very much on purpose? You know, what if I could find that there was a purpose in all of this? And actually, to be telling the truth, the only reason I've gotten out of psychosis is because I saw a purpose in it. Every single day, for as painful and challenging as it was, I chose to find freedom. And that's what I'm talking about, finding freedom in the places where you feel controlled. Obviously, in having psychosis, it's extremely easy to feel controlled. I mean, that's the concept of it. It's your mind is controlling you. But even in that, I found the freedom. I said to myself over and over, as much as it took, that this must be helping me in some way. And so I got the healing, I got the insights, the wisdom, the new connections, the new people, the support that I needed to get out of that. And now me moving out of such a harsh, dense, and terrible, frankly, terrible experience has given me the insight that, my gosh, that's how powerful we are. If I can change that if I can transform my mind that deeply, I can absolutely transform my relationships into ones that are more harmonious. I can absolutely transform my financial life into one that is more loving and more harmonious. So to go gently and to go kindly on ourselves, that is the beginning of us remembering that we are connected to our own freedom. And I've written here that it is just about letting go often. True control is about letting go. I've had to learn to let go in relationship to my cockatoo and to learn that it's not always about me trying to control her or make her quiet. Sometimes I just have to accept, this is where we're at right now. But in that letting go, it allows the energy to soothe and to find peace. And that specific resolution doesn't always apply. But I also want to say that I use the act of letting go in that sometimes I just resign and say, well, this has to be helping me in some way. And I walk away, or I just say, well, I'm not sure what the answer is, but it has to be serving me and supporting me in some way. And then even if the answer takes 5 months or 6 months, it comes back to me. And I learn, of how beautiful it was that I just set that light intention. I was just gentle on myself instead of trying to control the situation, because I felt like unless, the situation changes, I'm not going to be free. I just set an intention to open my heart a little bit, to be curious, and to feel a little bit of freedom inside of me, that it has to be helping me in some way. And I've had to notice when my mind says nothing's happening, when I'm talking about, in this situation, I'm talking about progress in relationship to work. But I've learned that something's always happening. Energy is always moving, and it's through this that all is unveiled. So I've come to learn that energy is always moving. And if it feels like something is not changing or you feel stuck, well, that's what's to look at. That's the intention to be set, to transform that. I know that my higher self bases progress on energetic relationships. That is on the freedom that you feel inside of yourself. So our mind, I guess, the way that our society is sort of like raised us, it's if we're in constant work mode, then we are being productive. But I'm going to introduce a new idea to you that, well, what if true productivity is the evolution of our relationships? So you might find that on a day off, you might be led to a really fascinating interaction. And this is where you have the opportunity to grow, even if it may look like a very challenging, painful interaction. Then, that's the true progress. If you have the ability to truly look at yourself in those situations and experiences, then you really are making progress. So, as I was saying before, it's first about finding that freedom in yourself, in those challenging situations. And then you can offer that same freedom to others, that solidness. That's the gift you can really give them. My housemate, Annika, has really told me that, the most important thing is to really see how you can support your own needs first. And then you'll really be able to support others. So obviously this topic is so big, and our entire world is moving energy. Our entire world, it's places where people get to feel that jubilation of being totally free. And then other places where, obviously there's that sense of real control and trapping. Here's how you can personally support yourself as you continue to evolve and step out into our society. So here's how you can really look at your own inner world and see, how am I contributing to a society where people feel controlled? Because obviously people feeling controlled, well, it starts with you and your own experience of feeling controlled in your own interpersonal relationships, what's already around you. Do you think you will be persecuted for speaking your truth? Is life something to be protected from or connected to? I love this question, actually. If you look at the places around you, at the situations around yourself, is there anywhere where you feel like you really need to protect yourself? Now look at that. Is there an opportunity to connect deeper to yourself in this? I really feel like the book series is a huge education to me, because I felt totally powerless at points in relationship to these big factors, in relationship to, the things I was telling you guys that I was feeling controlled by. But in having that insight of that creativity, then I'm here to write a book series that's going to help people get out of this. And first I have to walk it. I found that reconnection. I remembered that I'm here to learn, and these situations where I feel trapped are just opportunities for me to reconnect to that learning. Do you believe that there's something more powerful than you? I was absolutely raised on that belief, so this is definitely something to look at. And I also, just as a complete side note, had the insight that the people with mental disabilities are not crazy. There's just a lot of energy moving through them. So take that insight as what you will, but I know I've personally had that experience. I went through traditionally what would be called a mental illness, but I've learned that it's just, and maybe this is some way that can really help you guys, these really challenging situations. Look at how much energy, I'm talking like sheer power is available in these situations. And instead of that situation being chaos against chaos, what if it were able to be transformed and to become harmony? How much power is available in that? How much strength? How much, actually strength, yeah? Voice, how much pure voice? Like your ability to hold on to what's true for you and to transform, because you know that you can transform this. Then, on the other side, how amazing is that? I know for how challenging my life has been, that only means that on the other side of all this transformation is a really incredible and just amazing experience. Ultimately, we are aiming to move society and people in the direction of choice. Ultimately, we are aiming for judgment and shame to move out of your energetic vocabulary. Ultimately, we're just moving energy to let go of the old, to let in the new. to understand that what is underneath anger are building blocks, steps, and space. Ultimately, we're looking at ourselves internally to see that it's just an old habit to have less space and more pain inside of ourselves. But now we are all choosing and intending to have more space. And to understand that the energy is always trying to find a balancing point. I really hope that this has been a very illuminating episode for you. For me, it has been, and having the insights have been just amazing as usual. I have some final points to lead out the episode. I want you to remember that the walls and also the fields of freedom, of reality, are all made with our own energy. So to summarize the episode, it all starts from inside of us. What makes you feel controlled? And can you remember this is an opportunity to feel transformation and reconnection with yourself? But only if you own all things in your life as ultimately beneficial. It's just the change in energy. That is all that matters. So it doesn't matter how it looks on the outside. It's all about who you are being on the inside. And you'll find that in truly allowing yourself to consistently find that freedom inside of yourself, that carefree, that will be the new state that you'll consistently be able to embody. So about 2 days ago, I had a pretty amazing shoot, and I wouldn't even say, when we talk about setting these intentions for a perfect life, oftentimes it's like it's some sort of grand thing, like it's obviously going to be remarkable. And this whole day, I just felt connected. It wasn't anything complex. It was just that with every new person that I met, every new activity that I did, I was there. I was there and I was remembering how, curious I can be, how intrigued I can be. And when I was looking at this amazing installation at the end of the day, I think what I really felt was the remembrance that I create my own experience. That's where this ultimate power lies. What if I just remember that I create my own experience and I get to choose the experiences that I have, and I get to choose how to respond to them? What if you do create your own experience, whatever it may look like, and reconnect with that? Why would you be creating challenging situations? Because ultimately, they're going to be the most powerful things that are here to support you, to serve yourself and to serve many, many others. So it's just needing that slight perception shift from I'm feeling controlled to actually available in this situation is remarkable levels of freedom, of education, of supporting myself and supporting potentially millions of others, which I know that all you guys listening here are here to do. So I'm here to support you, and you're here to support and uplift many, many other people, perhaps even people you don't even know that you're here to support. So I'm excited for you. And I'm really thanking you for joining me. I'm hearing some amazing stories of people finding this podcast. It's really wonderful and really great fun for me to watch it all unfold and to trust in the universe. Everyone that's listening to this is meant to be listening to it. How cool is that? You are meant to be here. That is really, really exciting. Connecting with this. And that's the message of today's episode, that for as much as you're enjoying connecting with this, you can also enjoy the transformation and learning in reconnecting to those situations where you may feel very disconnected or very challenged. And so with that, I just want to say thank you so very much for joining me. It was an amazing episode to record. And as always, I'll let you guys know, I run a production company. It's called the Atlas of Consciousness. And we make media that is here to support people to see themselves and our world in a new way, in a deeper way, in a more purposeful way. So I do a lot of film and video production. So if you'd love to work with me, I would love to do that, to join you in working with you. Have a look at the website. The links will be below, and have a look at the show notes below, the description below, for more information on this idea. Control and freedom, just an energy. If we all, as a civilization, truly looked around us and saw that our entire world is just made up of experiences where we may feel controlled or where we may feel free, how can we really transform our world so we can really maximize that freedom in ourselves and to support other people all around the world, finding that freedom inside themselves, and so creating a largely free society on the big scale. That's where this is all leading. All these little steps are leading to the big changes. So yes, thank you. Thank you once again for joining me, and I look forward to seeing you again on the next Atlas Emotion Series podcast. Thank you and goodbye.